2 books on raw food, and became 100% vegan raw food on the Monday, and that was on the Friday. And I had really bad come downs and really bad months of being isolated away from people, couldn't hang out with my mates, couldn't go and see girlfriends, couldn't go to parties, couldn't do anything because I wanted to stop. And I was doing yoga every day. I was doing yogasana, I was doing Ashtanga Vinyasa Mysore every day. And I'd go to bed at 8 in the morning, get up at 4 and practice. And I completely left everyone behind. So, and the answer to your question, Miguel, I was still having fun, but the fun was harming other people.
Yeah.
And harming other people and ill health and the threat of not living for very long after seeing a lot of your friends dying from different drug problems and not making it by 50 or whatever, not making it by 40 at that time it was. You know, Scottish people die at 40 from cirrhosis of the liver. It's not unheard of. You know, and where I come from, it's
crazy.
The actual mortality rate in an area of Glasgow where I used to live is 57.
Wow.
If you go to Cambridge, it's 72.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's a 20 years, 15, 20, almost 25 years difference in a different part of Britain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the way we were brought up. The way we were brought up was if there was no pot, if there was no hash to smoke, you smoked heroin. That was just what you did.
Yeah.
On a Friday night, if you didn't have any hash, you'd smoke heroin. And by the time you're 18, 19, you're pretty used to it and you've got a strong constitution. And having that in your body for so long had obvious bad effects. So I think harming people, the realization that I was harming people, my ex-wife, my girlfriends, my children, I wasn't being the best father in the world for my boys who lived with their mother. Then the ill health, and then there's a financial side to it as well. You know, there's if you make £400 a day selling drugs and you spend £500 a day on drugs, you don't have any money left. and you can't get a mortgage being a drug dealer. You can't, you have to live in the black economy.
Yeah.
So you're in a different place as well financially. So I think that had something to do with it as well. I had nothing. I had a squat, I had a crack house. You know what I mean? I lived in a really nice crack, really nice squat. But it wasn't, I had 2 children who came to stay with me in a squat. You know what I mean? Because I could afford to live a good life with the money I made, just because I would, if I made £200 in drugs, I could maybe spend £300 a day. You know what I mean? Days like that would pass. So there was probably a financial aspect to it as well, like a sensibility, a financial sensibility and responsibility for my children.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that answers your question, but
it did. But it's amazing how you after a while,
cold turkey,
and realize that
you lie and look at the ceiling. You just lie and look at the ceiling. You lie in Shavasana, just don't move.
Yeah.
That's all I did. And when I wanted to move, I tried to do some asana, but my body was so sore sometimes I couldn't do much. So I would do like child's pose, pigeon, Kapitanasana. I would do like up against the wall, Viparita Kareni. I would do breathing and try and do some, and then the rest of the time I just lie in Shavasana. And then I kept on thinking, if I keep drinking water, if I keep flushing it out of my body, in 3 or 4 days, I won't be an addict anymore. I won't be, because I'll flush it out of my body. And I just kept on staring at the ceiling, to be honest.
Yeah, because as you were saying, and you say this a lot also in your classes, like yoga will seriously interfere with your addiction.
Totally.
Right?
That's
what.
Because if you
what do you think?
Up at 4 in the morning to practice every day.
It will seriously interfere.
You're not going to go out at 12 o'clock the night before, are you? You're like, hi friends, hi mates, I'm going home. They're like that. it's only 8 o'clock. And I was like, yeah, but I got up at 4 o'clock. Okay. So that's one way the yoga interferes with your lifestyle. And in a good way, you don't have to do it forever. I mean, after doing it for 13 years, I sort of gave up because I just became like a monk. My friends, a couple of my friends still go to bed at 7:30 p.m. and get up at 2:30 a.m. And they're on Ashtanga yoga shalas.
Exactly.
And that's their lifestyle. And they're happy with that. They never had any addiction problems. They never had anything. They're happy doing that.
That's the way
they like getting on their bike at 2 in the morning and cycling to the shala, stay there till about 9, teach a bit till 10. Do the practice, teach till about 10, and then the rest of the day they stay awake until 7 or 8.
And I was asking Miguel the same questions too. Like, what do you think? Why do people get addicted? Like, why is addiction such a big problem in the world?
Trauma. This took me a while to work out, but after doing I did some sessions with some ayahuasca healers and some other people, and I came to the conclusion it's mostly, for me and the people I know, it's mostly trauma. It's mostly something traumatic that's happened in their life that they want to forget about. They always reach for the drug where it's like when you're meditating and a thought comes in your head and you don't want that thought in your head. And when I say to people when they're meditating, just accept that thought because it won't be there for long and something else will come along. When you're in life and you're sitting at the breakfast table and a thought comes into your head and it's very traumatic and very upsetting for you, make a joint and have a cup of coffee. That will help. That will help deal with the trauma. Or when it comes really badly, you replace it with harder drugs. And I think most people drink alcohol, take drugs because they don't want to face up to the traumas in their life. They don't want to face up to the things that cause them anxiety. They don't want to face up to the things that make them depressed. They don't want to wake up to the things where the traumatic episode in their life is reoccurring within their mind over and over and over and over again. And I definitely took drugs for that reason quite a lot. And I know people in similar situations. And I think, Jen, that's only one reason, but I think it's a very widespread reason of why a lot of people take a lot of mind-altering drugs, because it helps you forget the bad things in life. It helps you forget your bad relationship. It helps you forget your bad parenthood. It helps you forget your bad parenting. It helps you forget your bad job. I hate that job. That's a typical one, isn't it? How many people work in jobs that they hate? I was a lawyer. I used to go and live with lawyers day in, day out, being in a legal setting. And they were so unhappy. They'd be like, could you get me a gram of Coke? Could you get me 3 grams of Coke? Do you want to go for a drink? And I was like, it's 11 a.m. I don't drink at 11 a.m. You could tell their whole life was unhappy. They didn't want to be a lawyer. They didn't want to be a contract lawyer.
Really just numbing it all in a way, numbing it.
I think when people are in a job and they see it as a dead-end job that they don't like, that's traumatic for people. That's so upsetting that they'll turn to drink and drugs, or they'll turn to gambling, or they'll turn to porn, or they'll turn to some of the social addictions. And even in that session we had the last week, there was a guy in it, and he said, it's great, we go through all these things, but I know he works for Zoom. Okay, I won't mention his name, but he works for a huge multinational, and he's got to go there every morning at 9 in the morning and stay there till 5, and he goes 5 days a week, and he needs that job to pay for he said, I need that job to pay for my rent, to pay for my lifestyle. And he's got yoga, thank God, to give him a support. He's got that crutch of yoga. Other people don't have that crutch of yoga like we've got. They've got wine, they've got marijuana, they've got
exactly.
And if you look at people in professional jobs, if you look at people in Amsterdam who are accountants, who are lawyers, who are business people, who are secretaries, who are admin workers, most of them don't like their job. Most of them are pretty unsatisfied. In fact, that's one of the reasons I enjoy teaching people to be teachers, so they can get away from their crap dead-end jobs and do something more useful with their life.
Yeah.
Because I was like that. After being a lawyer, I just walked in and I said, I can't do this anymore. And my boss was good. He just said, yeah, I understand that. What are you going to do? I'm going to India to teach myself yoga. And he goes, oh, that's good. And I was like, yeah, it is good. It is. You know, I've saved up enough money to live in India for a year or whatever. And I'm going to just go and live in India. And that was the start of me being a yoga teacher. And I never, ever did another legal job. Well, I did do some voluntary legal work, but I never did a paid legal job again. And I never sold drugs again. And I never worked for IBM again. And I never worked in restaurants and food. And I never did raw food restaurants. And I never did whatever, you know, vegan food. And I never had to do any of that again, because I believed in what I was doing freed me from all the trauma of doing, you know, I ran a juice bar for 2-3 years before juice bars were trendy. I had a vegan organic cafe before vegan organic cafes were trendy. No one came, but we worked really hard to make hardly any money. And I thought, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I'll just take some drugs. That'll make him forget about it. And that was the same as being a lawyer. You know, I didn't want to have to face up to the trauma of a dead end job. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. You probably know people like that. I know people like that.
Yeah, I think we all know.
We all know people. We all know people like that.
Very unhappy.
But do you feel, Stu, like, is there also like, because that's something you once said, and I know that from Jivamukti, is like, you know, do you feel like sometimes you've got to be careful though that you don't replace an addiction with another addiction? Because even yoga can also be very addictive, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with replacing a bad habit with a good habit. But you must realize if you're going to achieve yoga, you've got to give up the good habit as well.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah. Because that's all raga and dvesha, remember?
Yeah.
So you have raga and you have dvesha. They're the same side. They're the same coin, but just different sides. So like your aversion to something can cause you to have an attraction to something. And so I see my attractions as raw chocolate, cashew ice cream, things that I'm really addicted to. Like I couldn't live without vitamin B12 powder, sea moss. I'm totally addicted to sea moss at the moment. I couldn't go a day without sea moss. So I soak my own sea moss and I make my own gel and I have it in my smoothies. And I have 2 a day, and I have my B12 twice a day, and I have my Medjool dates. I'm really addicted to Medjool.
Yeah, you say it all the time when in class. I was like,
I will cycle to the end of the earth to get my dates, the dates I want, not shitty dates. I used to be addicted to fermented brown rice. It's a Japanese thing called amazake.
Yeah.
It's called amazake. It's really sweet brown rice. It tastes like sugar. And I used to cycle. I used to cycle to Whole Food shops to spend £6 in a big jar and sit and eat it. And she had to be like, "You're terrible." And I would have a whole cupboard full of empty jars. And I got addicted to durian. You know, durian, the smelly fruit from Thailand, the one that smells really badly.
Yeah.
I used to spend £150 a day on fruit.
Wow.
That's €200 a day on fruit. Because I was addicted to durian. I was a monofruitarian, so I only ate one fruit at a time. When I went to Jivamukti teacher training, I freaked them out completely. Patrick Broom had no idea what I was. Like Gabriella and Patrick Broom looked at me and said, "You eat what?" And I was like, "I eat 12 figs at once. I eat 6 oranges at once. I eat 5 apples at once. I don't mix my food. I only eat monofruitarian food." So there you go. There's one of the habits. That I gave myself a really good habit, because there's nothing better than being a raw food organic fruitarian. It's the best thing you can do. But your teeth fall out. My teeth weren't great at first anyway. And I ended up being what's called orthorexic.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned yoga episode.
The fear of eating something like a bag of chips and mayonnaise. If I ate chips and mayonnaise, I would be totally ill. But now I can. I can quite comfortably, but I don't weigh 52 kilos anymore. At one point, I weighed 52 kilos.
Yeah, that's
because all I had eaten was no fat, only fruit and green vegetables.